welcome you to yet another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is your boy Jalen. And if you would do me a favor, please subscribe to wherever you're listening. Please subscribe to wherever you're watching. Come to the YouTube channel if you aren't watching the visuals, and please subscribe. It would definitely mean a lot. You know what I mean? But we'll start off as the obvious thing to start off with, and that's the Super Bowl that happened on Sunday. Shouts out to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for winning the Super Bowl, beating the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9. This is Tom Brady's 7th ring, 5th Super Bowl MVP. He finally passed Jordan in terms of championships. Now he's in that rare era of like Robert Horry and players like that. But shouts out to Tom Brady and shouts out to the Bucs. It's crazy. The Bucs before Tom Brady had the worst record in sports history. And that's even worse than the Browns, worse than the Mets, worse than, I don't know. It was the worst record in sports history. And you see what happens when you bring, Tom Brady, you have Gronk, you have AB, and they won the Super Bowl. Let's talk about it though. There's a lot of angles that we can take about the Super Bowl. Let's start with the winners first. So again, Tom Brady Tom Brady had 3 touchdowns. I know 2 to Gronk, 1 to AB, and I know I know Leonard Fournette had a touchdown. This was a complete game. Now, no, he wasn't lighting up the scoreboard he wasn't like launching the ball left and right and throwing 500 yards. No, Tom Brady, what he did was he understood, make the game simple and control the time of possession. If we do both those things, we could win. Because think about it, the last thing that you want is to lose the time of possession to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Because usually, if that happens, you lose the game. So they knew, be slow, be methodical. Of course, we're gonna hit them with a couple big plays, and we're gonna beat them playing chess while they're playing checkers. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not here saying that the Kansas City Chiefs are all of a sudden god awful. I'm not here saying the Kansas City Chiefs didn't deserve to win. But what I am saying is the Bucs beat Kansas City Chiefs the only way that you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. You rush the passer. You attack Patrick Mahomes without really blitzing a lot. It's just, when you have Shaq Barrett, when you have JPP, when you have Ndamukong Suh, when you have White, Levante David. When you have those players, you don't really need to blitz because they can get to your quarterback, and they played to perfection. You know what I'm saying? And again, the one reason why I had, because of course, if you remember, I predicted that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to beat the Bucs. And one reason why is because I felt, especially watching 2 weeks ago when the Bucs played the Green Bay Packers, and you saw Tom Brady threw 3 interceptions. And while he didn't really throw interceptions against the Saints, he didn't do much. Like, Drew Brees helped them more than Tom Brady helped them. So I thought, while the defense is really good and the defense have stepped up this is probably since they played the Chiefs back in the regular season, I felt that even with some key injuries out on the offensive line for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes and everything and the Chiefs were still able to dial up plays that can get them out of position and that can, beat them long, and it just didn't happen. And I also thought that Tom Brady wasn't going to do enough to, beat Patrick Mahomes, seeing as though we've seen the Patrick Mahomes, that we know who Patrick Mahomes is. But it deserves it, man. Like the Bucs played, what it is? The Bucs were the best team. The Bucs, from offensive side to the defensive side, at least on Sunday, the Bucs were the best team. And of course, we'll get into it a tad bit later about, on the Chiefs side, but the Bucs were the best team. And and shouts out to Todd, shouts out to Bruce Arians and that coaching staff. First of all, is we all know it's Black History Month, and Bruce Arians really showed that you don't need a predominantly white coaching staff to win. Hell, majority of his coaching staff is black. You have Todd Bowles. You have Harold Goodwin, Brian Leftwich, Keith Armstrong, and there's multiple other African Americans. You also have women on the coaching staff. So shouts out to Bruce Arians, man. I think he became the oldest coach or second or oldest coach to ever win a Super Bowl or win their first Super Bowl. They deserved it. Now, I'm of course, I was rooting for Patrick Mahomes. I was rooting for the Chiefs, but looking at that game, it was complete domination on both sides of the ball. On the offensive side, when talking about the Bucs, they did what they had to do. They got Gronk involved. Scotty Miller didn't even get a target. And Chris Godwin really wasn't there either. It was mostly AB, Gronk. It was the running game. Ronald Jones was really good. Leonard Fournette was great. Of course, he had a touchdown. And, Mike Evans was kind of spotty here and there. But on defense, the Bucs defense was the best single unit the entire game. They were better than they were the best unit on the field. And it showed, like I said, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, White, Ndamukong Suh, like they destroyed they made the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line look elementary. It's like every time Patrick Mahomes snapped the ball, either Barrett or Sue or someone like that was in his face. Like, he didn't have any time to throw the ball. And that just showed, like I said, the defense has been playing well since probably last time they played the Chiefs in the regular season, and Tyreek Hill had 200 and something yards on him in the first half. Ever since then, the defense has just been on another level. And they are the main reason why the Chiefs won the game. Now, I understand you can't give the MVP trophy to a unit. And, of course, usually, unless it's like, I don't know, Terrell Davis or something, you usually give it to the quarterback, which is why Tom Brady won his 5th Super Bowl MVP. However, if it was up to me, I would have given it to Todd Bowles for drawing up a masterful game plan on how to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. I would give it to the whole defensive side of the ball for being able to get to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs without they didn't blitz. And honestly, they didn't change from the first half to the second half. They didn't change anything. They didn't change the scheme. They didn't change the formation. They stuck to what they were going to do because what they were going to do worked. So again, I understand that the MVP only goes to a player, but I would have given it to the entire. Defensive side of the ball. And if you have to give it to somebody, I would have given it to Todd Bowles for drawing. Now, again, that doesn't take away from how great Tom Brady was, how great Tom Brady is. And Tom Brady definitely played a major part in not only Tom Brady not only played a major part in the Bucs winning, but in the Bucs getting there. And that's another thing we're going to talk about. A lot of people want to say that this was Tom Brady's greatest challenge to get to the Super Bowl. Now, being in New England, of course, we know he's used to having bye weeks the first week. He's not used to playing, 3 games before the Super Bowl. He's used to playing 2 because, New England was so great, and playing in the AFC, you're usually winning your division and of course, you have the best team as far as defensively, and you have Tom Brady, and you have the best coach, which is Bill Belichick. They're not used to playing 3 games before getting to the Super Bowl, so ultimately 4 games. This year, the gauntlet that he went through was incredible. I'll give it to you before I keep going. You go against the Washington football team and that defensive front. You got Chase Young, you got Montrez Sweat, you got Jonathan Allen, you got those pieces, Ryan Kerrigan. You got a front full of first round picks, and he was able to get through that. Chris Godwin was big in that game. AB was huge in that game, and then you go to the next round, which is the Saints, and you're going against, on paper, probably the best roster. With Drew Brees, with Alvin Kamara, with Michael Thomas coming back. On paper, and of course, the defensive side of the ball, they're the best team on paper in the NFL. Let me not just say on paper. They have the best roster, at least this year, in the NFL. And you, of course, like I said, I know we talked about Drew Brees and the four turnovers as a team, but you get through that. And then you go through the league MVP and Aaron Rodgers and that high-powered offense. And not to mention, their defense is no slouch either. I mean, you got the Preston brothers, you got Savage, but you get through them. And of course, you did throw 3 interceptions, but you get through them. Do I think that I'd say this. This has been the toughest road he had to get to, seeing as though the talent that he had to go through. Like I said, you have to go through Chase Young in the Washington football team. You have to go to Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and the Saints. You have to go through Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, and the Green Bay Packers. And now you have to go through, and now you beat Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill to make a Super Bowl. While I do think that was the toughest string of games he had to go through, however, you do have to acknowledge the team that he has. Now, you look at those New England teams, and while he was the biggest part of the team, seeing as though, he's the greatest greatest quarterback we've ever seen, but they had dominant defenses. But on the offensive side of the ball, outside of 1 or 2 years when they had Randy Moss, they haven't really had any offensive weapons. They haven't really had any players that were going to make you, we really have to game plan for them outside of Tom Brady. Like, you had Wes Welkers, you had Julian Edelmans. Of course, you had Gronk. But you're not really, while I do think that this was the greatest challenge that he had to go through as far as the competition, I do also think he had the gun loaded. Meaning you have Mike Evans, you have Chris Godwin, you have AB, you have Gronk, you have Ronald Jones, you have Leonard Fournette. And of course on the defense, like I said, all those defensive studs that you have. While, yes, this was probably the most challenging Super Bowl run he has ever had, I do think that he also had the weapons to come along on that journey. And that's kind of how he didn't really have to have much, especially in the AFC, when he was with when he was with New Orleans, come on, bro. When he was with New England, he didn't really have to struggle that much, seeing as though the AFC East was down and he usually had the best defense. His offense really wasn't there, but he usually had to have the best defense. This time, there's no way that you're going into Green Bay. There's no way you're going into New Orleans without having not only a solid defense, but a solid offense. So, I'm not taking away from anything that Tom Brady did, and I'm not taking anything away from what the Bucs did. They definitely did their thing, and they definitely deserved they deserve this, and because they played a complete brand of basketball. A complete brand of football. They played, again, their defense was the best unit the entire game. And honestly, their defense really carried them. And I understand Tom Brady didn't hurt them or anything, but their defense really carried them throughout this entire playoffs. Like I said, you forced 4 turnovers against the Saints. You stop Green Bay's high-powered offense, and you know, it doesn't really take much to stop the Washington football team. Washington football team's offense, but you were able to neutralize their offense. So, you got to give them credit where credit's due. Shouts out to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is Tampa Bay's Buccaneers, 4th championship, I believe, and this is Tom Brady's 7th and his 5th Super Bowl MVP. So shouts out to them. And let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs side. You're hearing yesterday and today, does this really hinder Patrick Mahomes' legacy? Were we too quick? Were we too high on Patrick Mahomes too early? Are the Chiefs? I know Keyshawn Johnson said, I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is ever going to make it to the Super Bowl again. Let's chill out. First and foremost, this is the Super Bowl was the first game in which Patrick Mahomes failed to reach the end zone. This first game. I think he's been in the league for 3 years now, 3 or 4 years. This is his first game he failed to score. Now, a lot of people are going to say that it was the refs' fault. Now, I will say this. The refs had some pretty questionable calls, and they were not as lenient on the whistle as you thought they would be in a Super Bowl. I understand that. But no, I understand that the refs, there were some questionable calls and there were some momentum crushing calls. But the reason why Kansas City beat themselves, as well as they allowed it. I understand that both tackles, both the right tackle and the left tackle, they were out, and you bring in people that really had no snaps the entire season. And that is the biggest reason why they lost. They lost because their offensive line could not protect Patrick Mahomes. I think they said Patrick Mahomes ran the entire game like 430-something yards. And that's not like a Cam Newton running no, he was running for his life. And I think that's the most in Super Bowl history. You saw it. Like, we watching the game, you saw Kansas City Chiefs, their offensive line just couldn't do it. Now, I understand that Patrick Mahomes was dealing with a turf toe, which, if anyone's ever had turf toe, it is painful. Like, of course you can play through it, but it's not something that you just scoff at. Like, that is some pain for you. But Patrick Mahomes, the offensive line didn't give him time to make plays. And when he did give him time to make plays, Tyreek Hill dropped a touchdown. Williams dropped a touchdown. Pringle dropped a touchdown. Robinson dropped a touchdown. And let me see that. So Hill dropped a touchdown. That's 7 points. Pringle dropped a touchdown. That's 14. Robinson dropped a touchdown. That is 21. And Hill dropped a touchdown. Not Hill. What's his name? Williams dropped a touchdown. And when I say dropped a touchdown, the ball hit them in the face mask and still wasn't dropped. We remember the incredible, I think it was the fourth quarter play. Actually, it was fourth quarter where, Patrick Mahomes was under duress. And he had to get up off his feet like he was diving through the ball. There was no way in heaven or hell he was going to reach somebody. And it hit Williams right in the face mask. And boom, drop. Robinson, the ball hit his hand, dropped. Pringle, all you had to do was catch the ball, hit his face mask, drop. Tyreek Hill could it would have been a tough pass, tough catch, but he could have caught it, drop. And Travis Kelce dropped two huge third down plays. So it was a team effort, man. It was a team effort on why they didn't win. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it was all Patrick. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was just flawless. He overthrew some people, he underthrew some people. It was just a team. It was a team loss, and I don't think that I don't believe that this is it for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I don't think that they'll never make a Super Bowl again. I think that they ran into a better unit, which was the defensive side of the ball for the Bucs. Now, we also when I say the complete team, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs has been playing so well that their deficiencies were able to be masked by how talented they are and how good they've been playing. That didn't happen on Sunday. On Sunday, they didn't play good enough to mask their deficiencies. And what are their deficiencies? They're not good at stopping the run at all. In fact, they haven't been good at stopping the run for the longest. Yes, you have Chris Jones and everything, but they have not been good at stopping the run, period. Also, outside of Tyrann Mathieu, they can get Breeland isn't the greatest at coverage. And again, outside of Tyrann Mathieu, they're not really solid at cornerback like that. Like, their quarterbacks aren't going to shut down a game like that. Yeah, Breeland has some moments, but if he is your primary cornerback, that's not going to work. And what did we see on Sunday? We saw Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette run up and down the Kansas City Chiefs defense. And we saw time and time again. Well, again, Tom Brady didn't make huge down the field plays, but he would have Gronk wide open. Gronk scored on 2 screens, I believe. It was on the 1 yard line, and he had AB for a touchdown. And one thing that the Chiefs do a lot is hold. Like, they hold a lot. And while usually physical teams usually hold, and you usually expect them to expect refs to kind of swallow the whistle in the Super Bowl, kind of like refs swallowed the whistle in the NBA Finals. They were just getting call after call after call. Now, again, some of them to me were bad calls. Like, I remember the Tyrann Mathieu got a pass interference in the end zone against Mike Evans, even though the ball was clearly uncatchable. Same thing, I believe it was Breeland. He accidentally tripped Mike Evans on a deep ball, even though that ball to me wasn't catchable, and Breeland fell. Outside of that, and there was some, roughing the passers that they didn't call on the Bucs, but the refs played a part in the moment. Let me say this. The refs did make some bad calls and made some questionable calls. However, I believe the fact that, the offensive line was playing god awful, and the Bucs were able to just dissect the defense for the Chiefs. That to me played the biggest part in the reason why they won or they lost. And again, man, I don't think that this is it for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, even if you watched the game, you saw how bad he looked, even though he played really well. It's just he played with what was around him. Like I said, it just wasn't their game. They're not really used to losing. I think Patrick Mahomes has lost like 2 or 3 times in his entire career. They just weren't used to losing. And like I said, Travis Kelce had an uncharacteristic game, dropping 2 huge third downs. Tyreek Hill had a I think he didn't even break 50 yards, I don't believe. Like, Tyreek Hill had an uncharacteristic game. And, it's, again, both two huge tackles were out. So I don't think it's over. I really don't think it's over for Kansas City Chiefs, and it definitely it Tampa Bay won fair and square. Again, I hear a lot of people going to talk about the refs. A lot of people going to talk about some calls, but Kansas City won fair and square. And not Kansas City, the Bucks won fair and square, and they won the way that they usually win. Have a dominant defense, and of course, Tom Brady was masterful. So, with that, let's. I understand that the Super Bowl was Sunday, but let me give my way too early top 5 teams for next year. Now, of course, you can look, their teams are going to be reloaded, teams are going to be healthy. Of course, there are still quarterbacks that need to be moved. We need to see what Carson Wentz is going to do. I know that he's supposed to be moved in the next few days. If not today, we need to see what Cam Newton's going to do. We need to see where Sam Darnold's going to be. Of course, we still got the draft. There's a lot that need to happen, but I'm going to speak about right now my top 5 teams going into next year and who I think have the best shot of winning a Super Bowl. Number 5, I'm going to go with the LA Rams. You just get Matthew Stafford, and you still have Woods, you still have Cooper Kupp, you still have Akins, you still have Akers. I'm sorry, you still have Aaron Donald, who we'll talk about in a second, and you still have, you have a great team coached by Sean McVay, and a lot of people thought that Jared Goff was holding them back from at least winning a Super Bowl, because he got them to a Super Bowl, but at least winning a Super Bowl. So now that you bring in Matthew Stafford, who a lot of people think is a improvement, then we'll see how it goes. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I only have them at 5th, because they have one of the best rosters, if not the best roster in the league. However, we do need to see how they play out. We need to see what happens with free agency. And of course, there are still questions about Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford has not won a playoff game in his entire career. And of course, he's used to losing. While he has been really good, he is used to losing. So we need to see how that, plays out. So I have the Rams at number 5. At number 4, I have Green Bay. I think that they're going to still be good. You still have Devontae Adams. You still have Aaron Rodgers. You still have Aaron Jones. But I need to see what they do in the draft. I need to see what they do this offseason as far as getting help. We know what they need help with. They need help offensive side of the ball when it comes to wide receivers, because, you still have Lazard, but he's not really a 2. You still have Valdez-Scantling, but he's pretty spotty. It's like we know you need some offensive help, and you need some help on the defensive line. While you do have the Preston brothers, they're kind of spotty when it kind of like Lazard and Valdez-Scantling. They're kind of spotty when it comes to when they play good, when they don't. So I have them at 4th. I think they can go higher. It's just I need to see what they do in the draft. I need to see what they do this offseason as far as trades and moving up and down. You know what I'm saying? I just need to see what they do. So right now I have Green Bay at 4. 3, I have Tampa Bay. And the reason why I have Tampa Bay at 3 is because Shaq Barrett is going to demand some money. Chris Godwin's a free agent. Leonard Fournette, we need to see if he's going to come back. AB, we need to see if he's going to come back. Gronk, White, and Levante David. Well, not White. Levante David. All these players could possibly be outside of White. All these players could possibly be gone next season. And like I said, Leonard Fournette had a touchdown in the Super Bowl. AB had a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Gronk had 2 touchdowns. Chris Godwin is one of the best wide receivers in the league, when healthy and everything. And Shaq Barrett played a huge part in the success for this team. That's the only reason why I have him at 3rd and not higher. The reason why I still do have him at 3rd, however, is they're a young team. And I do believe they'll bring back like Fournette. I think he'll come back at a discount. AB, I think he'll come back at a discount. In fact, I don't see him playing anywhere else outside of Tampa Bay unless Ravens throw him a lot of money or something. But Gronk's not going nowhere if Tom Brady's not going. But you still have, like I said, you still have Scotty Miller if you lose Chris Godwin. You still have Mike Evans. You still have Brait. There's still a lot of players. Ndamukong Suh's are going to be there. JPP's still going to be there. Like, even if all those players leave, you still have the talent to at least contend for a Super Bowl. Not to mention you have Tom Brady. So that's why I have Tampa Bay at 3. At 2, I have Buffalo. This entire season, a lot of people were saying that Buffalo is arguably the best team in the league. And most of their players are coming back next year. In fact, I think like 95% of their players from this year are coming back next season. So, and we saw the leap that Josh Allen made, finishing second, I believe, in MVP voting. I think they have all now. They still need to address their defense, especially the back end of their defense, but they have all the makings of a team that could make it to the Super Bowl. And of course, you still have Stefon Diggs, and they need to address the defense and the running situation. If they don't get a reliable running back, I think that's one thing. Devin Singletary's serviceable, but I don't think that he is a running back that can, get you where you need to go. So I have the Bills at number 2. And number 1, I have Kansas City Chiefs. And that's why I don't think that, I'm not going to say it took a little brief pause, but I don't think that they should hang their head too. I mean, you still have Tyreek Hill. You still have Patrick Mahomes. You still have Travis Kelce. You still have Mecole Hardman. Like, you still have great players. Now, yes, you need to get better players on the defensive line and might want to address the offensive line most definitely. But because I know that Fisher tore his ACL, and we need to see what the other lineman is going to do. But you need to address the line, and you need to get better defensive linemen to stop the run. But outside, you still have the best player in football, in my opinion, which is Patrick Mahomes, which is why I have him at number 1. So my way too early top 5 for next year right now is the LA Rams, Green Bay Packers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Buffalo Bills, and Kansas City Chiefs. And if we're going to go way, way, way too early Super Bowl picks, now, of course, this is subject to change. Super Bowl was just on Sunday. I still need to see what happens in the offseason. I still need to see what happens in the regular season next year. Of course, we don't know about COVID and fans and stuff. But I'm going to predict right now that I'm just going to do the AFC and the NFC Championship. AFC Championship is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs against the Baltimore Ravens, because I believe Baltimore is going to get some help for the wide receivers, and I hope that Lamar Jackson improves as a passer. So I'm going to have Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. And then the AFC, I have Green Bay and LA Rams. So that's my way too early thing. I don't know. Again, shouts out to Tom Brady and the Bucks for winning the Super Bowl. And let's move on. So the NFL awards happened the day before the Super Bowl, and there weren't really too many surprises. I mean, Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year. I thought it was either going to be him or Brian Flores, but I'm not mad that it was Kevin Stefanski. Hell, the Browns ain't been in the playoffs since God knows how long, and they made it. Aaron Rodgers won the MVP. We all knew that was going to happen. I was a little surprised that Patrick Mahomes only had 2 votes, but hey, we knew Aaron Rodgers was going to win. Rookie Offensive Player of the Year, we knew that that's pretty much the MVP. That's not a quarterback, and it couldn't really go to anybody else, in my opinion, outside of Derrick Henry, which it did. So shouts out to, I mean, these are the, Russell Wilson won Sportsman of the Year for all the philanthropy that he does with him and his wife and the community of Seattle. We knew there weren't really too many surprises. Why am I talking about this though? Because there were 2 picks, or 2, I guess, award winners that kind of had people up in arms. Let's say that. The first one was Justin Herbert winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, I I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'm a big Oregon fan. I think it's mostly because of the jerseys and the history of Oregon, with Marcus Mariota and people like that. But I'm a big Oregon fan, which means I watched a lot of Justin Herbert in college. I would be lying to you if I told you that I thought Justin Herbert was going to be what he was this year. I didn't think, especially when I knew that he could be talented, but I didn't see him being this good in the NFL. After what I understand, you won the Rose Bowl and stuff like that. I just didn't see it. However, Justin Herbert winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year makes sense to me, seeing as though he broke the rookie he broke the rookie touchdown record. Like, that's not something that comes off. It's kind of like Derrick Henry. I couldn't see it going to anybody. One reason was because Derrick Henry ran for over 2,000 yards, which doesn't happen. I think he's only like the 9th person to ever do that or something like that. Now, a lot of people thought that Justin Jefferson, for the wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, deserved it over Justin Herbert. I can see the argument that you make. Because like I said, Justin, I think he broke Randy Moss's rookie receiving record for the Minnesota Vikings, and he was incredible. First rookie in a while, I believe, to make the all pro team. I mean, not all pro. What's that jump called? The Pro Bowl and stuff like that. Like, I understand he was great. Don't get me wrong. He was great. He was arguably a top 5 wide receiver this entire year. But like I said, Justin Herbert broke the NFL record for most touchdown passes by a rookie. I think he threw like 31 of them. So I can understand the argument for Justin Jefferson, but I also understand why Justin Herbert won. And I would have given it to Justin Herbert, seeing as though that record that he broke. The second, and the one that I don't agree with, is Aaron Darnold winning Defensive Player of the Year. Now, before I continue, let me say Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in the league. That is not debatable. We see he gets triple team majority of the time, and the stuff that he does as middle linebacker is incredible. Like, there's not many. A lot of times when you hear about Aaron Darnold and we talk about the greatness that is Aaron Darnold, a lot of people talk about you put him in a class with greats and legends like Lawrence Taylor and stuff like that. I'm not saying he's as good as Lawrence Taylor. I'm just saying you don't really compare Aaron Donald to players today because of how great he is. So Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in the league, in my opinion. However, we're not talking about what he was doing his entire career and how great he is his entire career. We're talking about the season. And in the season, I can't see how you don't choose TJ Watt from the Pittsburgh Steelers not winning I don't see how you don't pick him as Defensive Player of the Year. Seeing as though I think he is leading Aaron Donald in every category that is important in defense, which is tackles, interceptions, forced fumbles, hurry up, like quarterback hurry ups or getting to the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? He leads Aaron Donald in all those categories except one, I believe. And we saw how important, how great now understand towards the end of the season and, of course, the playoffs, how the Pittsburgh Steelers looked. But defensively, he was the anchor to a team that went 11-0 until they met Washington. So, and he was incredible the entire season, even after they started losing a couple games. So, I'm not taking away from how great Aaron Donald is. Aaron Donald's great. Aaron Donald is incredible. That's not arguable. But if we're talking about this season, I don't see how you give it to Aaron Donald when you're looking at, if we just talk about stats, and you can even talk about, look on film, how impactful and how dominant TJ Watt was this season. Hell, JJ Watt even came out and like gave the stats. So, and I understand that they're brothers and everything, so of course the biasness is there. But even if you look at the stats show that TJ Watt had a better season this year than Aaron Donald. So again, I understand teams playing the Rams, how you have to scheme Aaron Donald, how he's, I think, double teamed 95% of the time and like triple teamed maybe 80% of the time, something like that. And I understand how if you don't contain Aaron Donald, you're pretty much going to lose. But this year, I can argue Aaron Donald this year, Aaron Donald wasn't the best defensive player on his team. That could have went to Jalen Ramsey. So again, I understand why you pick him. I just don't agree with it, seeing as though how we saw how important TJ Watt was and how good TJ Watt was for a team that went 11-0 at one point in the season and is beating Aaron Donald in a lot of statistical categories outside of maybe one or two the entire season. So, but that was that. But with that being said, congratulations to all the award winners for, winning the awards. Outside of those two we just talked about, there weren't really too many surprises. So that's that. Speaking of awards and speaking of Pro Bowls and awards like that, let's move over to the NBA. Now, one of the biggest headlines and news that came out last week was the NBA decided that they're going to have an All-Star game. And I think they're going to have skill challenges too, which is the three-point contest, the dunk contest. I think they're going to have that. I know that they're going to have the All-Star game in Atlanta. And yeah. Now, stars like LeBron, Giannis pretty much backed them. Kawhi Leonard came out and said, they have no desire in playing in the All-Star game, and they're already tired, this, that, and the third, and they don't think that they should have it. I'm an NBA fan. I love NBA. Basketball is my first love. First, second, and third love. I love everything about basketball, whether it's NBA, college, high school. Like, I love basketball. However, I also understand, especially when we talk about the NBA, I also understand that it is a business. And a business is going to business. That's just how it's going to be. Like, the NBA, I kind of knew once I heard rumblings that there was going to be an All-Star game. And I'm sure players knew once there was rumbling that they're going to try to have an All-Star game, that more than likely is going to happen, and they're going to find a way. Now, I also understand and agree with a lot of the players, seeing as though this was the shortest offseason that they've ever had, especially coming out of a bubble last year and having the season stop halfway due to a pandemic. And like I said, teams that were in the bubble, like the Heat, like the Lakers, like Denver, they didn't really have time to rest. And those teams more than likely will have at least one All-Star. So, not to mention, these players are getting tested every day, multiple times a day. So, if you're testing, and I understand what LeBron's saying, if you're testing them this many times because you're not sure of the threat or don't know what's happening, or, of course, you don't want them to catch the virus and then spread it to the team. Hell, there was even a memo that came out saying that teams or players aren't able to have big gatherings for the Super Bowl, meaning you're still cautious and you're still worried about the spread of the virus. So if you're so worried about it, why have a pointless game like the All-Star? I didn't like what the NFL did with the Pro Bowl as far as doing the whole versus thing. I think that was cheesy. I wasn't with it. But what I did like is they didn't have a Pro Bowl game, but they still announced Pro Bowlers. They still sent them the jerseys. They still said you're a Pro Bowler. This is going to go on your record as a Pro Bowl. They just didn't have a Pro Bowl game. I don't understand why the NBA doesn't do that. Well, I do understand, seeing as though they're already losing a lot of money because a lot of teams aren't having fans. Hell, most of the NBA aren't having fans. And the teams that are having fans probably having like maybe 250 or something like that. I get the money, and I get that they're trying to recoup, and they understand that their biggest draw outside of the NBA Finals is the All-Star Weekend. And it's not just it's endorsements and stuff like that. I get it. But hell, we all know that this year is gonna be a wash as terms of this things that we're seeing this year or last year we've never experienced, which is the pandemic. So you're gonna get affected some type of way, and as we're seeing, teams can't even have fans. Hell, the Golden State opened a new arena and ain't nobody even there. They have like monitors and stuff to see people doing Zoom and stuff. So I understand why they're having an all-star game. I'm excited to see more basketball, but I get the frustration that the players have, seeing as though, we're still doing all these protocols. We're still getting tested every day. You're telling us we can't even have Super Bowl parties and stuff like that, which I agree with. I agree with the whole social distancing. I agree with, no large gatherings. But on the other hand, don't tell me that and then say we also are going to have an all-star game, which not only are you risking players on the all-star team, but you're risking players that aren't even all, like, you can't monitor what the players that aren't all-stars going to do. So I get the frustration, and I get how the players are like, the league is being hypocritical, which they are, because like I said, one minute you can't say, we care about your health, we care about the safety of the league, and then the next minute we're having a pointless all-star game when all you can do is say, we have all-star voting. These are the all-star teams. This is team whatever. This is team whatever. You guys are all-stars. Here's your jerseys. Here's your packages. Here's your incentives. Keep it moving, like the NFL did. So there's that. I understand. I definitely understand the frustration. Trust me. But moving forward, this is about a month and a half, maybe 2 months of the league. And I know it's too early. Things can change. But I'm going to give my awards. Now, these are my awards, and I also understand that it's very early. So, more than likely, these awards are not going to be the same towards the end, but I'm going to have fun. These are my awards for the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. Let's go with Coach of the Year. I'm going to go with Doc Rivers. When you look at, I understand you look at the talent that's on Philadelphia, but this is the same talent that was on last year and the year before. And Doc Rivers, to me, has unlocked something that I'd never thought that we would be able to see Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons not just coexist, but play well together. In fact, the Philadelphia 76ers play better when they're both on the court, which I don't think I ever thought I would see. And I think that's because the schemes that Doc Rivers has created. Now, again, this is early, but I have Doc Rivers as Coach of the Year. You can also talk about, no, actually, I don't think anybody really can be the Coach of the Year outside of Doc Rivers at this point. So I have Doc Rivers as Coach of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year, to me, has to be Kevin Durant. I was going to say John Wall should win this because John Wall has looked really good for Houston, and we know how long he's been out. But the reason why I'm going to go with Kevin Durant is because Kevin Durant, in my opinion, is in the conversation of MVP. And the injury that he suffered, a ruptured Achilles, that's usually career ending for people. And not only is he in the conversation of MVP, he's having better or identical numbers that he had back when he won it for OKC. Now, this is a player that, like I said, he has a torn Achilles or a ruptured Achilles, and he comes back and he is arguably the league MVP. Now, of course, I'll give my MVP in a second, but because of that, I have to give the comeback player to Kevin Durant. Just how good he's been. Hell, if we do the, there's a big reason why, even though you still have Kyrie, you still have James Harden, there's a huge reason why they don't win if Kevin Durant's not on the floor. Which is why the huge contract tracing thing was big, because he's gonna miss game. Even though I don't understand what was going on, I really don't understand. It's like he couldn't start because of contract tracing, but he could play. And then halfway through the game, you pull him, and now he's probably going to miss multiple games. I don't know what's going on. Not to mention he tested negative. I don't know what's going on. But, yeah, Kevin Durant is my comeback player of the year for right now. Most improved, that was tough. To me, I have to go to Christian Wood from the Houston Rockets. I didn't see this Christian Wood in Detroit at all. Like I now, of course, you don't really watch a lot of Detroit games because they're not really on TV, but I didn't see Christian Wood being this good in Detroit. And when the Rockets got him, I understand I was like, oh well, okay, well, I mean, what is he gonna do? And now he could be an all-star. So I have Christian Wood as most improved. Like that, yeah. Defensive player of the year, that was tough too, but I have OG Anunoby from the Raptors. It could have gone to him. It could have gone to Rudy Gobert. It could have gone to Miles Turner. But, you know, not only is he leading the league in steals, but he's guarding the best player on any other team. Now, I understand that their record, isn't the greatest, but he's, like I said, he's guarding the best player, best perimeter player on any given night. And he's, like I said, I think he averages like 2.1 steals a game, which is actually high. So I have OG Anunoby as defensive player of the year. Rookie of the year, I have LaMelo Ball. Now, I had James Wiseman before he had the wrist sprain, because I think what we're seeing from James Wiseman in Golden State, we knew, he is unlocking his potential early. He can shoot the three. He's great at pick and roll. He's good at protecting the rim. Now, of course, he has to be better in defending in space, but James Wiseman's been incredible. LaMelo Ball, however, he's been probably the second most important player for his team. That's a rookie. Like I said, James Wiseman's been big, but he's hurt with a wrist injury. Tyler, I forgot his last name, but he plays for Sacramento Kings. He's up there as well. But I think LaMelo Ball has been more important to the Hornets than they have been to their teams. And LaMelo Ball has been playing really good. His assists are high. I think he can get better at shooting the ball, but of course he's still a rookie, so I think that should improve, hopefully. But I have LaMelo Ball winning Rookie of the Year. Now let's get to the MVP. The MVP can go a lot of ways. You can go Kevin Durant for what he is doing in Brooklyn. You can go with Joel Embiid, seeing as though he's probably been the most consistent and best player in the East the entire year. You can go with LeBron because the Lakers have the second or third best record in the West. You can go with Kawhi Leonard because I think the Clippers have the best record in the league. But I think my MVP right now is Nikola Jokic from Denver. I've said this time and time again, but it's kind of being more apparent now that he is arguably the most skilled big man we've ever seen. Now, when we talk about skilled big man, of course you have players like Hakeem Olajuwon. If you really want to put him in the big man discussion, you have players like Kevin Garnett. You have players like Kevin McHale. Like these men were crafty, and what we're seeing out of Nikola Jokic, his ability to shoot the ball, his ability to get to the rim, his ability to play with your back to the rim or play on the block, his ability his court vision is incredible. His IQ is incredible. Not to mention he's got a lot better with his body slimming down. Nikola Jokic is arguably the best player in the league right now. And to me, that shouldn't come as a surprise to a lot of people. seeing as though, I mean, he just had a 50-point game the other day. I understand they lost. They didn't lose because of him. And he's a big man playing like a small forward, power forward. And that, to me, Nikola Jokic has been the MVP so far this year. I think it's close. I think if we're talking about MVP, rankings, I would have said him first, as in Nikola Jokic number one, probably Joel Embiid number two, and you can go back and forth between Kevin Durant and LeBron James for three. But that's my MVP. Still sticking on basketball. College basketball has been down. That's just how it is. I don't know if it's because of COVID. I don't know. I don't know if it's because of the inconsistency of the season. Seeing as though some games are being postponed, some games are being canceled. You don't know who you're playing left and right. But it's been down. Outside of Baylor and Gonzaga, there has been no dominant team. I understand Villanova's. I think they're like 12-3. I understand Villanova's been cool, but like I said, and it's down because the other day, Saturday, Duke played North Carolina. I'm a huge North Carolina fan. That's probably my favorite sports team ever. But that had no buzz around it. I was watching the game. I was like, there's no dominant player on this floor. And then you look, Kansas loses bad sometimes. Iowa, who they were ranked, I think, second or third as high. They've lost like 3 or 4 games straight. It's like they're just, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the inconsistency of the season. I don't know. But this has not been a season to showcase the highlights of college basketball, because it really hasn't been outside of, and the thing is, even if you look, Gonzaga and Baylor, they've been dominant, but they've been dominant in 2 different ways. Baylor is probably the most athletic team we have in college basketball, and Gonzaga's the most fundamentally sound team. So I don't know, man. It's just college basketball just has been down, and it's really been the blue bloods. Like I said, Kansas hasn't been well. North Carolina, even though they beat Duke, we haven't been good. Duke hasn't been good. Miami, like Kentucky, God, Kentucky's probably been the worst out of all of them. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if this is just the year. I don't know if it's because, like I said, the inconsistency. But this has not been college basketball's greatest season, and that's an understatement. But moving on from basketball, the Dodgers land Trevor Bauer with a 3-year, $120 million or $102 million contract. Now, why am I talking about this? You know what I'm saying? The dude, Trevor Bauer, won the NL Cy Young Award. And he's going to a team now that already had Mookie Betts, already has Bellinger, already has Clayton Kershaw, already has, or they just won a World Series, and now you're bringing another great player, the NL Cy Young winner. Now, the baseball is probably the only sport where it is apparent that the rich get richer, as far as, with TV deals and sponsorships and this like that, and the fact they don't have a salary cap. You can pay a player whatever you can afford, and bigger markets are going to have bigger salaries, seeing as though they have TV deals or they have more revenue coming in. So when you look, the Dodgers, who just won the Super Bowl, who just won the World Series, just got better. Or you look at the Yankees, who year after year, they have a loaded roster. Now, of course, usually their roster kind of falls apart by the end of the year, seeing injuries or whatever, or some people just don't pan out. But name-wise, they have huge rosters. It's Chicago Cubs, they usually have a big roster. They don't really win that much, but they usually have a big roster. And honestly, going into it now, I don't really see too many. I don't see outside of. I mean, the Padres are really good. The Mets are really good. The Cardinals can be really good. Of course, like I said, the Yankees have a huge roster, but I don't really see anybody. It's kind of like it's kind of like um it's kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Not saying that they have the Dodgers have a Patrick Mahomes, but you keep getting better. You keep getting players. I don't see anybody being able to beat the Dodgers next year, seeing as though they just won the World Series. A lot of their players are coming back, a lot of key players, and then you just add a Cy Young winner. So, yeah, man, I don't. It's gonna be tough, but shouts out to the Dodgers. Shouts out to Trevor Bauer. The Dodgers are going to be tough again, and I don't see anybody beating them, especially in a series. I just don't see it. And before we go, and it kind of sucks that I think the last 3 or 4 episodes, I've ended with somebody passing, which is very unfortunate. But Pedro Gomez, who is I think he was like a 30-plus year journalist. He definitely loved baseball. He did a lot of boxing for ESPN. Like I said, baseball for ESPN. He passed away unexpectedly on Sunday at the age of 58. I don't know how he passed, but I wanted to end the show with him because we all know, I mean, as you can clearly see, I have a sports show, and I'm kind of I watch sports all the time. And if you're someone like myself who loves sports, loves everything about sports, and has watched sports his entire life or your entire life, you have seen Pedro Gomez at least once or twice. In fact, there's no way in heaven or hell that you watch sports and you haven't seen him. That's how impactful he's been. That's how important he's been to the sports world, especially when you talk about baseball and just breaking that ethnic barrier that sports have had. Sports commentating and sports journalism and sports reporting has had for God knows how long. He was an incredible journalist, incredible reporter, and he was a staple and a mainstay when we talk about greats at ESPN and just greats in the sports world in general. So it definitely caught me by surprise and kind of stopped me in my tracks when I heard about it on Sunday. So I hope that you rest peacefully, Pedro Gomez. I pray for strength for your family. And I know your legacy will live on, seeing as though there is no, there's staples, and everything that you talk about. Like you can't talk about basketball without talking about Kobe Bryant or talking about Michael Jordan or LeBron James. You can't talk about football without talking about Tom Brady or I don't know, Lawrence Taylor or something like that. You can't talk about sports journalism without talking about Pedro Gomez or Stuart Scott. And because of that, this definitely hits home, and this definitely is heavy. So again, rest in peace, Pedro Gomez, and I hope that one day I can be just a fraction of as good as you were when it comes, and I can have just a fraction of the impact that you've had in the sports world. So rest in peace, Pedro Gomez. And there you have it. I appreciate you guys for listening. I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you guys, shouts out to Calvin Johnson and all the Calvin Johnson. I know Charles Woodson, Peyton Manning, and all the recipients that will be in the Hall of Fame. For people that know, Calvin Johnson is my all-time favorite football player. That man was incredible, and it's definitely well deserved that he's in the Hall of Fame. John Lynch, who took a couple ballots, but shouts out to him. He made it, and there's a couple other players. Sorry that I'm forgetting your names, but shouts out to them. Again, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Please subscribe. Please come to the YouTube channel, subscribe if you haven't, and talk to me. If there's something that you don't agree with, let me know. If there's something that you do agree with, give me a thumbs up. Let me know. It is what it is. And I hope you guys have a great week. Until next time, much love.